Good afternoon, everyone. Bill Rentschler in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Hope everyone's having a nice Friday afternoon, maybe enjoying some of the rain that we have passing through the area. It's Friday, and that means we have, again, our latest streaming segment, again, Inside the Story with the Flatwater Free Press, where we kind of take a deep dive into their latest investigative piece. And, again, joining us today, again, not the first time, but is author Natalia Alamdari. Natalia, thank you so much for joining us. Again, this isn't your first time on the program. You joined us a couple weeks ago to talk about a story that you had written. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. So again, this segment, obviously, we kind of do a deep dive. Here at 1011, we, with the deadlines that we kind of have with the daily newscast, we don't have the time or the resources to do some of these really in-depth pieces that you guys are able to do at the Flatwater Free Press. And again, some really, really good pieces that you guys have done. You joined us with a piece about a month ago that kind of detailed Seward County's civil asset forfeiture the practices they had kind of been going through with that. Can you kind of detail kind of the original story that we talked about a month ago? Because the story that you guys just wrote and had just published yesterday kind of dovetails off of that original piece that you did a month ago. So can you kind of take us through that original story from a month ago?
Right. So the first story that we wrote about a month ago was this deep dive into civil asset forfeiture practices in Seward County. If watchers don't know where Seward County is, it's just west of Lancaster County. Interstate cuts right through it. And so Seward has a highway interdiction team that focuses on, stopping crimes along the interstate. And part of that delves into, drugs flowing east to west and money flowing east to west. So what the story dove into was when people are pulled over, their money is seized from them, but they're not convicted of a crime, and the county is still able to move forward with a forfeiture process to forfeit that money in court. And so what the story found was when you look at state court, Seward County accounts for, in the past 10 years, the county's accounted for 1/3 of all civil forfeiture cases in state court in Nebraska. So when you're looking at a county of that size and they're accounting for 1 in 3 court cases, that's something to dive deeper into.
100%. Again, the story makes you kind of raise your eyebrows and kind of wonder how something like that is legal. But again, there's sort of some loopholes in that law that technically does make it legal. And so in the process of writing that story, you kind of had some people, it sounds like, reach out to you that have basically alleged that they've gone through this process, the civil asset forfeiture, the money's been returned to them, but some of these people are alleging that not the full amount of the money that was taken was returned. So can you kind of walk us through this latest story that you just published yesterday?
Sure. So like you said, through reporting that first story, something that kept on coming up from the drivers that I was talking with, and this is something that they were bringing up unprompted by me, like it wasn't even something on my radar, but 3 people in a row start telling me, I was pulled over in this county, and just to use hypothetical numbers, I had X $1,000s in my car, but then once I saw what was documented on court records, it was 2,000 lower, 3,000 lower, whatever the actual numbers may be. So it's the kind of thing where, one person says it and I'm like, just keep that in the back of my brain. 2 people start to say it, I start thinking about it more. 3 people, and then a former public defender, hearing the same type of story over and over again is kind of what made my reporter brain start to think, okay, I need to start asking some more questions about this. So yeah, I just really went deep into what 3 drivers in particular were trying to figure out about their missing money.
And so this story, again, which we have pulled up on the screen, again, you can find this story on the Flatwater Free Press website, flatwaterfreepress.org. We also just posted it on 1011now.com. Again, another really, very lengthy, in-depth piece. And, again, obviously when you're alleging something like these people are, And when you're reporting on it, you want to be careful. You want to make sure you kind of cross your I's, or cross your T's and dot your I's. That is, rather. And in this piece, again, you go through all of that. You talk to the people who are alleging this. You reached out to the sheriff's office. I believe you reached out to the county attorney. And again, like you kind of mentioned, you also had defense attorneys that you interviewed for this piece as well. Can you kind of talk about, I guess, pulling all these different pieces and angles for this story and pulling those together?
Right. So I think that the important thing to think about with this story, which is something that defense attorneys brought up, is, how does a person prove what they're alleging? And so something that defense attorneys kept on saying was, what if if a client is making this type of allegation to them, it was really hard to formally assert that in court because there's never enough of a paper trail to definitively prove how much money a person had on them in the car. Kind of the next best thing that I was thinking of was, okay, the sheriff's department is pointing to body cam footage as a reason why this kind of allegation would be impossible. So I put in records requests for the body cam footage. All of those requests ended up being denied for a variety of reasons, but mostly stemming from the fact that they were investigative records, which law enforcement does have a lot of leeway in Nebraska on what they can and can't release in terms of body cam footage and if something's investigative. So I was really trying to come at it from all those possible angles of like, okay, what are defense attorneys saying? What is the sheriff's department pointing to? What unbiased information can I try and obtain? My thought being body cam footage. And really, I think that all of this combined together really gets into this point of we can't say what happened to the money because there's just not enough of a paper trail. The body cam footage isn't available to us. So it's still just a looming question, I think.
It is, and in the article you kind of go through. I believe it's the policies that have to be followed in Seward County with the sheriff's department to seize money, and they're saying, look, this can't have happened. We go through these policies where you can't even take money out of the car unless there's, I believe, 3 deputies there plus a supervisor, plus it's on the body cam footage. And then it's counted, and each image of each bill is taken, and then the bank double counts it. So again, the sheriff's department again is saying, look, we followed this policy. Maybe you're just misremembering how much money that you had in the car with you, because again, it's all just rolled up in kind of these bills and things like that.
Right, and I think it's in this story too. One of the experts that I spoke to, the point that she was really trying to make was, what if this is happening on the side of the road? What if something was dropped? What if it was windy? And that she kind of pointed back to body cam footage as this way of, possibly clearing accusations. So, just looming questions all around.
It is. And so my next question, again, is we've obviously kind of touched about it, but you talked with several defense attorneys for this piece, and you also had these defense attorneys basically say, yes, we've had clients allege similar things that have happened both in Seward County and out of Seward County. So again, it sounds like this is something that, at least in defense attorney circles, maybe isn't all that uncommon.
Right. And I think we kind of talked about this already. Like, it goes back to that point of, you can tell it to your defense attorney, but as one person told it to me, they're not going to bring it up in court unless they have a definitive way of proving something. And that's the challenge with all of these stories, is that there's just not enough of a paper trail. It's hard to figure out how to bring those types of complaints forward.
And I'm sure, for most people, again, you're not necessarily I'm going to keep, all these ATM receipts, together as I'm driving through the state to, prove how much money I have, in the car, stuff like that. So again, I think in the story, one of the people that this has happened to, or alleges this has happened to, says, I'm keeping all bank records, all the records from where this cash came from in the vehicle, photographs, so that way if this happens again or whatever, I can take it to the judge and I can say, look, here's my records. this is how money I had, this is what was taken, and this is what was given back to me.
Right. Definitely, like lessons learned that he took away from it. Because the person you're talking about, his challenge was that, as he told me, he was like, some of it was money I took up from the bank, some of it was money that was already like in my home. Like I just didn't have the bank statements at the time to prove what was in the car.
And so, again, you mentioned it, but the body cam footage would solve this issue rightly or wrongly on either side. But again, we don't have access to that body cam footage right now. Is that something that you and the Flatwater Free Press are going to continue to try and get access to, over time? Again, investigations don't last forever. Eventually they have to kind of come to an end. So do you think that body cam footage will eventually, see the light?
That is a great question. I don't know how much more Flatwater will push on that front, because frankly, I don't think the law as written kind of gives us a lot of room to fight that. I mean, if I can't remember the specific bills off the top of my head, but I know that there have been like past legislation about being able to release body cam footage related to certain types of police incidents. I think it would maybe take more of a legislative action for that to be possible than us fighting in court.
Interesting. Okay. So are there any next steps in this story for you? Again, I know it, and again, you know it. Sometimes one story turns into a whole, series of stories. So again, obviously, your first story turned into this story. Are there any more kind of steps in this story for you guys?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I have a couple of different leads I'm trying to sort my way through, and it'll be interesting to see if anything else kind of ends up in my inbox or on my phone over the next couple of days. So it's kind of open-ended on that front.
Okay, all right. So anything else that we didn't necessarily cover that you want to make sure kind of gets out there about this story?
I think we covered it all, actually. There's nothing coming to mind on my end.
So just kind of, again, money allegedly, not being returned to these people who have had money taken. And I guess if we back up real quick, again, the money's being taken because of the civil asset forfeiture, which, again, there's some rhyme or reason why they've been pulled over and why the money's been taken in the first place. So I should clarify, it's not just they're pulling over random drivers and taking their money necessarily out of their vehicle. They've somehow ended up, a little maybe sideways on the law, at least to get pulled over.
Right. There's enough evidence on the law enforcement side of things to connect the money to drugs. Like that's the justification that leads to a civil forfeiture. And I guess the only thing coming to mind as a clarification is the people specifically referenced in the story. Some of them got their money back. I think one of them did not. But yeah, it's a mix of those types of situations.
It's a sticky wicket, I think is the phrase I think I would use. And again, it's kind of he said, she said a little bit. And again, the body cam footage would shed light on what exactly is going on, but again, unfortunately, we don't have that. So, Natalia, again, thank you so much. Again, another really good investigative deep dive piece that you put out here, and again, a really good story. So, again, I would encourage everyone to read it. Again, you can find that both on the Flatwater Free Press website, flatwaterfreepress.org, as well as on the 1011 website as well. And then you'll be able to, if you come in late and you're just joining us now, this whole entire video will also be available on 1011now.com on that story as well. So again, Natalia, thank you so much for hopping on and for joining us today. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. The only thing I would want to add is if people read the story on our website, there should be a pretty easy to find link if they have any tips or ideas they want to share, whether it's related to civil asset forfeiture or anything else going on in Nebraska.
And you can also find, again, the original article that sort of started this story also on the Flatwater Free Press website as well. So again, both of them again are long reads. You got to sit down. You got to have a couple minutes to kind of sit down and read it. Natalia does not. She's very liberal with her use of words. So there's a lot of words in there, but both very good articles. So again, thank you so much, Natalia, for jumping in and joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right. So that was Natalia Alamdari with the Flatwater Free Press. Again, you can catch this segment every Friday at about 2 p.m. Again, we took the last 2 Fridays off. I was on vacation, but again, we're back at it now. So again, we'll be back next week with another, again, I'm sure, good piece from the Flatwater Free Press. And again, we'll interview the author of that piece as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in and for watching us today. I appreciate it. Hope everyone has a nice Friday and has a nice weekend as well.